So he didn't want his name or anything used, but his question revolved around Kratom. And basically he was asking, that we talked about it, we started the podcast quite a bit, but we haven't really talked about it in a while. And that we kind of, praised it as this great thing. But then when he went to check out, Red Threads, I think he said, a lot of people were warning about it. And so I just wanted to talk about that. And, where are you at with Kratom, Stan? And how do you feel? You've taken it for a lot longer than I have. And we haven't talked about it in a while, but how do you feel about Kratom and its, possible negative side effects and stuff like that?
Yeah, I definitely think there is a negative to it. I think we did touch on, some of the negative when we first recorded about I think it was like episode 1 and 2 when we were first talking about it. I think we did mention, the addictive properties to it just because it is such a like pain relief, and some doses can be euphoric, some doses can be stimulants. So I think we did touch on that. My opinion hasn't really changed much. It's weird though, because I go in and out of seeing more and more articles that are trying to hit piece and trying to say that it's a terrible thing. But what it really comes down to is the individual's responsible use of it. It certainly can be addictive. And, I think I even mentioned earlier on, like, there were times that I would take it for, weeks on end and crazy amounts and all that. And at some point it's just like deadening.
Yeah.
And you kind of want, I guess you kind of expect the individual to understand that, like, this is getting me nowhere at this point, so I need to cut back and slow my roll. But there are people that I'm sure just keep going and keep pushing. So there's definitely, it can be addictive, but so can coffee, so can anything that is kind of not as addicting as like an opiate where your body becomes dependent on it or something along those lines.
Yeah. It's hard for me to talk about its dependency and compare it to, maybe some of the Reddit threads that the guy that emailed me, was reading, because I'm not coming at it from already being an opiate addict, because that's a huge portion, if not like probably half or more of the Kratom culture online, at least.
Yeah, the community.
Yeah, the community. I'm not coming from that angle, and I'm also not taking the dosages that they're taking. I see people on Reddit, that are trying to keep opiate withdrawal symptoms at bay, saying, take like 10 grams at a time and stuff like that,
like 3 or 4 times a day.
Right. And that's probably my monthly, bi-monthly Kratom intake, I stick to, I don't know, maybe 2 grams max at a time, and maybe only dosing, twice in a day. But just from that usage, which compared to what most people seem to be using it in dosages, like compared to that dosage that is rather light in comparison, I do notice, if I take it for like a week straight, that there is some chemical dependency. At least, there's a biophysical reaction to not taking it. And that can span from anywhere from, depression that just comes out of nowhere, which, I mean, that can definitely be a chemical change in your body. And I think it has a lot to do with like the dopamine release, from, the euphoria of the lower dosages. But also, like I try to have a reason to take it, and it's been one of the best cold medicines I've ever taken, where, if like Kratom really fucking does that. And so, like, I found myself, especially like last winter, um, like if I was just kind of, had a runny nose and like was like, I fucking gotta power through this day. I would take Kratom for maybe a couple days till I felt better. Until like, I was waking up and being like, hey, I feel okay. But then I was like, well, I'll just take some Kratom today anyway. I was already like in that kind of like, well, why not? And then after like 4 days of doing that or so, I'd be like, I gotta stop. And then after a day, like the cold symptoms would come back. And it's like, it was almost like my body being like, oh, wait, if I fucking put some snot in this nose here, like they're going to throw some of that green shit down my throat again, And so like, it's I definitely noticed that. And, it just takes being aware, because then I know like, whoa, I got to like lay off it for like a couple weeks or whatever, so I think the most I've ever taken it straight was like 2 weeks. And I definitely did notice like I felt like shit for at least the first day, of not taking it. But, I'm not equating that to withdrawals from OxyContin and stuff, so I can't really like speak on that. I would love to have someone come on the show that, has used it, to get off of opiates, and whether they've kicked Kratom at that point or not. Like I'd like to hear about that journey firsthand, but it's definitely like you could smoke weed for 2 weeks straight and then stop, and you're not going to have, you might be like, oh, I wish I could get high, but like I'm talking at least the negative drawbacks of coming off of Kratom after a couple weeks is worse than weed, at least. But it's probably on par with like if I tried to not drink coffee for a couple days, I would feel maybe even worse than it, so it's like in between the withdrawals or whatever of those two substances for me.
Yeah, and I definitely agree where it's the next day you're feeling something's off, or I will equate whatever bad feeling I'm having that day to the fact that I took Kratom the day before.
Yeah.
And I don't know, if that's my own, like my mind telling me to stop taking it, or, what that is, or if it's actually what is happening. But, I definitely see that. The one thing that I see online though, that I don't agree with, that could be kind of a negative part of Kratom, is people that are coming off of opiates and are now taking the high dose regimens of Kratom multiple times a day and claiming that they're done sober. I guess I don't understand that. I guess I shouldn't really speak on it because I am not coming from that angle, like you just said. But I find that weird because it's definitely something, it's not nothing that's happening. So you can't say that when you're taking Kratom, like you're completely sober. But from what we know, at least, it definitely is better than the physical dependency that opiates can hit your body with.
Yeah. And I totally, I've read stuff of people that used it to get off of opiates, and now they've been taking these mega doses for years. And, I will say, like, at least from my, rudimentary knowledge of the subject, like, it seems at least healthier than being a dope addict, and so like there's at least harm reduction there, even if they're addicted to it. I think, going back to my friend that died, and I mean, he was fucking shooting dirty ass shit he got on the street into his arm and a fucking needle and shit like that. Like, as long as like you're getting Kratom from like a good reputable source and it's good and tested and you're paying a little bit more for it, like it's safer than heroin. It's a lesser of two evils. So I understand that part of the community, kind of warning, I think in the email he said it seemed like they were like warning people off of using it unless they were coming at it from a opiate withdrawal scenario. And I don't agree with that though, because I do think people should give it a try. I think it's a very good medicinal plant. I just think for most people the dosages you should be looking at trying, at least to start out, are much lower than what you're mostly going to read online.
Yeah. And like any substance, you kind of want to just do your own research, and just like the vaping death scenario, you don't want to just get stuff off the street, especially like you don't want to get kratom off the street, especially. But you definitely don't want to like go to a gas station and get it. I've seen that all over the place, and I don't know, that just scares me a lot. Where I'd rather find a vendor online that has reviews, and not just like taking a shot because it's there.
Yeah.
So as long as you do those things, and like you said, that the key factor is being aware, there is responsible use for anyone that's waiting for them, that wants to try that.
Yeah. And I responded to his email, and then his follow up was in between the time that he wrote me the first email and I responded. He was like, I actually, didn't wait for your response. I ended up buying some kratom and taking it. And he was wanting to take it for to work out, which I think is a great use of it.
Yeah.
Especially at the lower stimulating dosage.
A whiter green.
Yeah. I mean, it really helps your exercise, like stamina and your motivation, to just like kind of push through. It's great for like that first day back to the gym after not being there for a while. It's like you feel really good, and like just want to kind of kick ass. So he wanted that. That's what he was originally trying it for, I believe. And he said that he took 5 grams for his first dose, and that it was pretty unpleasant and kind of ruined his day. And like, he was like checking his pulse because he thought his heart was beating too fast and stuff. And, I've kind of had that. I don't think I've taken 5 grams at once, like without having built up a tolerance, which I found, that's one part of the like addictive quality of it, is the tolerance builds up real quick. So I think I probably have taken 5 grams at one dose, but I think that was a couple weeks in, of taking it every day. But anyway, yeah, he was like, that kind of sucked. And I think he said like he wasn't going to try it again, and that he didn't see what the point was. So, I understand his trepidation there. But I would definitely have to say to him or anyone else that's had that same experience, like try a gram first, and definitely like put it in capsules and take it that way. I find that's like a slower release or whatever,
Well, and you don't want the trauma of the toss and wash.
Yeah. And, I really think like try 1 grams. If it feels like nothing, try 2, kind of build your way up, because there's that slippery slope with it. And, I've had it one time, and I've seen it referred to on Reddit posts and stuff of, I think they call it the wobbles, like where like your vision's kind of like shaky.
Okay.
And I have had that after like taking too much.
Is it just like being lightheaded, or?
Yeah, not much different from the spins of being drunk almost, like that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And so, it's just, it's one of those things. Just start slow and build your way up. I mean, much like with any substance, like there's no reason to push it and to be a He-Man, So,
but I mean, there's reports everywhere of various dosages. So you don't, I think it is very important to start small, because somebody's 1 gram is another person's 10,
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you take lower dosages too. And I mean, we're both big guys too. So it's like, it's a powerful medicine. It really is,
especially on an empty stomach.
Yeah. And so, I'm definitely still a proponent of it. I don't take it every day, and I definitely don't think other people should. But I hope that we, answered his email or the questions in his email or other people's questions about that. Even if we don't talk about it, like we still take it. It's just, it's, I don't know. It's, it is what it is, but definitely keep emailing us if you have questions or you want us to talk about something. Like I really, we'll jump right on it. I mean, he emailed me last week, and we're already talking about it. So it helps us, get the juices flowing for content to talk about.
What's the email?
Help find the others at protonmail.com.